Hello and welcome everybody. Jay Fazette here for another edition of the JVology Show. And for those who do not know, the JVology is a organization that has a ton of great, amazing entrepreneurs who use joint ventures to serve their clients better, make more money, have more fun. Thus, our catchphrase, JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. And I have an amazing guest here today. Better together, precisely, Charel. I have an amazing guest with me today, Charel Morris. How are you, my dear?
I am great and excited to have this time with you and everyone here.
Yeah, you and me both. So here's the deal. For those of you who don't know, let me give you a little bit of background. And I'm going to set all this up. And then Charel is going to start filling us in about who she is, what she does, and the magic she can bring to you and your business. So JVology, the perfect mix of people, fun, and profit. We are a education and training organization that does things like JVology Live, a 3-day joint venture training and joint venture matching weekend. We've got one coming up in September. You should be there. We do things like this show, for example, where we get to celebrate community members and share them with not just the rest of our community, but the rest of the world. And I absolutely love doing that. We have things like currently the JVology giveaway, which is underway, where people joint venture together and contribute all sorts of gifts. I think you're actually in that, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Charel.
Yeah.
Yes. So the JVology giveaway, where you can get like 70 plus amazing courses, resources, tools, worksheets to serve and support you to grow and change your life and your business. And we do things like annual coaching programs such as Flow, Sail, the Business Basics Breakthrough. Here's the long and the short of it. All of those things are sort of what we do, but here's what the best part is that we have a community of brilliant folks who get win-win collaboration, who get solving their clients' problems better, and who get we should actually experience freedom and joy in the process of our business instead of struggle and pain in the you-know-what. So on that note, just so you know, on that note, if I start looking away, the reason being is my secondary monitor decided to just turn off. So now I'm going to be doing this. So couple of things. First and foremost, to participate in this, and because Charel's was willing to answer questions, all you need to do is either click on the video or the little blue button, I think it says Jay Fazette above it. It'll take you to the broadcast page. And when you do that, come over into the comments and say hello. In fact, we have a Facebook user that just said, go Charel. That's awesome. So come and say hello so that, number one, we know who you are. We know where you're from. You can ask any questions. We are happy to serve. That is the whole point of these pieces, of these interviews. The next piece to that is this. We, in terms of the conversations, the questions, and all the rest of it, we share these things everywhere on Facebook. So just because you're watching the video, it doesn't mean that you can chat, and we'd love to hear from you. So click that button, click the video, come on over and say hello. Now, I'm going to play a couple of our little videos, Jay Rocks and Go Charel. So whoever that is, we can't see who you are, but we're fans already. I'm going to play a couple of our little intros. And then I'm going to get a couple of links in, and then we're going to come back, and Charel is going to fill us in about who she is, who she serves, and what she does in the world. We'll see you shortly. All right. I like those weird little videos. But Miss Charel, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us in terms of filling us in terms of what you're up to in the world. So let's start with, who you are, who you serve, what you're up to in the world. And I'm going to make you full screen so people can see you.
Oh, exciting. Thanks, Jay. Well, I'm one of those people who's had a multitude of careers. I worked in film and television as an audio tech, so I understand the challenges of these programs. And during that time, I got to meet some amazing people and discovered that really brilliant, talented people are very down to earth. And then I have been doing live events for the last 30 years, producing big conferences and shamanic retreats, note the word shamanic, and realized that I had these interesting skills and talents coming from just spirituality and then moving into shamanic work and energy work and sound and color, and having the unique experience of studying with some of the most amazing people in their fields, much like I am now with Jay, an amazing person in his field. And what I realized I've been doing a conference called DEF CON, which is the world's largest hacker conference, for 23 years. And realized at points in time, as the conference kind of hit a rough bump, I would sort of get a sense of what needed to happen, and actually was cleared by the creator, known as Dark Tangent. Yes, I went to the roof of a hotel in Las Vegas and did a ceremony and cleared the bump. And I've realized now, through the years, I've done that with my clients, and I know how I got to those points, and realized I can teach that. And in some cases, it was clearing bumps. In other cases, it was changing hotel contracts in a way that they didn't want to do it, but that's what I needed. And we got it. I had a Jaguar with me while we were negotiating, which is kind of helpful energy-wise. And
not the car, the cat, just to be clear.
The cat, big cat.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. If you can look through the eyes of a Jaguar, it's amazing what you see in the person sitting on the other side of the desk. Like, they're a rabbit, and they're really twitchy right now because they're downstream on that upstream, downstream. They are way downstream.
Yes, it is not. I think, what is that? Prey and carnivore and prey. Anyway, we just watched Zootopia. There was a great anyway. So I want to back up. When you say clearing bumps, now I want to use. I want to sort of do two things. I want to use layman's terms, and I want to get your perspective. Okay.
Okay.
So to me, layman's terms are, things aren't going well. I'm facing resistance. There's a block or a barrier. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I've plateaued. I mean, there's 12 million ways in which people use language that reflects things not necessarily being in flow. So can you sort of tie that to what a bump is, and how one would clear that? If it's a big question, I know, but could we take a run at it out of the gate?
Sure. In that particular case, we had a conference that had gotten about 5,000 every year and was growing quickly. And about 1,000 local kids started showing up because it was only $40 and it was 3 days of partying. It was a community, a core community. So they started kind of making important community members stop coming. And it threw off the feeling of the conference, the social structure.
Yep.
I did what I did. The next day we opened the show. None of the kids showed up, and about 1,500 people who had been not showing up returned. So it set it moved the conference back on track. And it took us, in a sense, out of being the crazy young kids into being now we're hackers who have real important jobs and have to, do security checks. So we can't be that crazy. In other elements, it has to do with taking a business that just feels stuck or just not there, and working with a client to figure out solutions that are way outside the box, and getting back into it at times, sometimes completely changing the blueprint of the company.
Yep.
And doing things that all of a sudden start bringing in money they weren't even expecting.
Very cool. So I have 12 million questions about that. So how much, and I'll just share transparently. So a dear friend of mine, Thea Lynn, she and I did some work together years ago. And the core of my question is this, so she did some clearing work with me when we were in a bit of a pivot and a transition that I fervently believe paved the way for a new beginning. And it wasn't work that I frankly am familiar with or comfortable with, any of those sorts of things. But what was important in this case was that for her, at least at that point in time, with whatever the bump or my bump or me being the bump or
yes, all of those.
it was incredibly important that the work happened with me from her perspective, and based on results of how it showed up, I would have to agree. Now, when you do this type of work, do you always need to work with principles? Is it something that you can do sometimes at an energetic level at a different time, place, location that influences and impacts them, or does it depend on circumstance and situation?
Over time, it has become comfortable for me to do it over Zoom at a distance. With DEF CON, I was so involved as their planner. It was kind of like my baby too. So I would just go to my boss and go, I want to make a change here, or I want to do this. And that was really all I said. And he's like, okay, go do that. And it's still kind of that arrangement.
Yeah.
With others, once I get a sense of what's going on, it starts from distance and then often just in a phone call.
Yeah.
What I'm doing more of now is working with business people, entrepreneurs, spiritual people who understand there's a certain spiritual energy in the world and they're open to it, and teaching them how to understand their own inner senses so they can look at the situation and start trusting sort of their intuition and their instincts to know what they want to do. I've sort of moved into this thing, if it's a big deal, call me, I'll come fix it. Yep. But for the most part, and especially people who are in business and running businesses, they get a sense of something being off, or they're not sure which way they want to go with something. They need to make that decision now. We can't wait for an appointment where I can get there and hold their hand or do it for them.
Yep.
So that's what I'm really excited about now. Is I have this sort of 7-week program, in essence, 7 steps to wake up those skills within you. And granted, you have to, it takes time. And I have it set up so people can, continue working on it. And I'm supportive there. But I just think you'll have easier choices to make if you're not letting it get stuck and just sit there for however long while you're trying to figure it out. If you can start making those shifts and getting a sense of what decision you really should make, rather than somebody says, well, this was a really good program and I did this and it was great. Can be a great program, might not be in alignment for you.
Right. So let's talk about, you used the words instinct and intuition, and in my head I heard natural knowing, listening to your gut, so my own interpretations of those words.
Yeah.
So what, and I do not pretend in any way, shape, or form to be the most intuitively aligned human being on planet Earth. What I do know, however, is that when it hits me, I think you've even heard me talk about cellular certainty. When it hits me, I just need to shut up and follow and listen, even though it makes absolutely no sense to me. Yes. So I've been fortunate enough to have a bunch of those kinds of experiences. But how do you help people discern sort of from, what I'm going to call the fear-based motivation and that internal dialogue to what is true intuition or true instinct? What are some of the keys to that listening? And I know that's a big question again, and we got to get to the crazy simple secret. But this, to me, if people could just do this, it would change people's lives and worlds tremendously.
Yeah. And it's a piece of crazy simple secret.
Okay.
We bring it all together. For me, it's like we all have a sense of imagination or intuition, but I liken it to being like the iceberg. We see about 5%. We get about 5% of it. And I also think, as we're each a unique individual, the way in which I get my intuitive things, ideas, pokes in the back would be different than how you would do it.
Yeah.
So it's learning how it is. In my work, I go from using shamanic, sacred circle, north, south, east, west, all of that. And in the same session, then we go up to the quantum field. Okay. And we work with that energy. And what, for me, I recognize and call your quantum self, which is all of you throughout all of time. And then there's this part that kind of went off to Earth for a while, and you can come back. And so learning how to get that connection and start noticing all those pieces, noticing your intuition, and we kind of work on ways to do it. Learning how to daydream. I mean, when you're doing all of the things that entrepreneurs and business owners do, we have a tendency to be a little type A. We got to just do it. No. And you look at someone like Einstein, and it's like he's floating on the water kind of thing. So it's finding how you get in touch, and whether, is it your intuition or is it an instinct? For instinct, I take my clients into the quantum field now to meet their power animal, because I know my instincts went way up when I started working with that. So it's finding what really works for you, and then you start little. You don't want to go, I feel something in my right shoulder. I think I will buy a house. Maybe not. Maybe not.
I'm sorry so I'm laughing because I had a bike wipeout and my right shoulder's in pain. So I'm just giggling at that interesting reference, and I have no desire to buy another house.
No, I've with some clients, I just have them start journaling. It's like when you sense something, and it's a lot of times, I think the universe speaks to you otherwise as well. Before COVID, and we were all wandering around stores and out there and in restaurants or whatever, I would listen to what somebody would say something at another table, and I would hear this snippet of a phrase, and I could tell if that was for me, because I'm paying attention. I changed the whole direction of my life by the title of a story on a magazine cover, because I was in ministerial school, and I was kind of going that direction. And so it was a new thought teaching. Think Michael Beckwith, and he's awesome. And I looked down to this magazine because they were doing stuff that I didn't really like. And the magazine title of the article was, "You Can't Take the Patriarchal Bus to Give a Gift to the Goddess." And I went, oh, okay, out of ministerial school in shamanic school. And it was so...
It's a great title. It's a great title of an article, by the way.
Yeah. And I'm so annoyed. I did not buy that magazine. Really? 20 some odd years later. So I'm very straightforward in my work. It will take a while. Don't think you can go and turn around a multinational hotel contract just, in 6 weeks. Probably not. Maybe, but you can get on that path and you can start clearing stuff up. And some of it will be big and major, and others will just make your life better.
Yeah. It's an interesting experience that this idea of cleanup and the impact and influence that it has on energy is always a fascinating experience for me.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of preparing for something called Facilitation Mastery, which is our facilitator development program. And it involves a whole bunch of life cleanup homework. And just as little details get handled that don't seem like much in and of themselves, but literally I can feel the space opening. I can feel
Yeah.
the energy being clearer. I can feel my, clarity of purpose and all of those pieces in just tackling some of those elements. And some of those, by the way, are in a what I would call an emotional and spiritual domain, and some of them are a very
Mhm.
physical and practical domain, but they all have influence.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the crazy simple secret to manifesting anything.
Well, I mean, I came up through what is now called Center for Spiritual Living.
Yep.
Used to be religious science.
I'm very familiar. I have been a guest speaker at the Calgary location a multitude of times, and so I'm with you.
So, understanding the power of thought, the power of words, the importance of getting rid of the gunky thoughts and words, is kind of a foundational piece for me.
Can I a quick question just struck me? Did you ever come across a woman named Charel Carnes? She's been very active in that church for a multitude of years, primarily in Canada, but then went to California, actually, I believe.
Name is familiar.
Yeah, she's an absolute sweetheart, and did the welcoming ceremony for Wyatt when he was born. Anyway, I love her, and I just struck. Carry on, please.
That's great. That's great. So, I mean, that's a foundational piece, and manifesting was part of what we were taught.
Yep.
And it was about speaking your word or holding a thought. I created an amazing 18-year job with a actual amazing author by changing a few words in what I was treating on.
Yep.
And all of that. So I understand that. But then at a point in time, I had the awesome opportunity to connect and work a little bit and have read the work of Dr. Valerie Hunt. Mm-hmm. And she held 4 PhDs, and she was sort of mystical. It was a good combination. She was a biophysical scientist who proved energetic healing to the federal government down here, the
small
South.
cast.
Yeah, she had access to NASA's telemetry gear that they put on astronauts, set it up. It was repeatable. Person is in this room, all wired up. Healer is in this room. They can't hear or see each other. And then, in my theory, the scientists are in this room giggling about what's doing. And then, like Rosalind Brie would go, we're going to take that pain in Jay's shoulder and move it all the way down the right side of his body and out his foot. And the scientists are giggling and watching all this equipment, and all of a sudden it goes,
There's a Saskatchewan phrase that sounds a little bit like this. And then she said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah. So Valerie has an amazing, she's left the planet, but in her work, I found a whole aspect about the fact that although we're all about chakras and energy, but we only actually work with it from about our 2nd or 3rd chakra up.
Okay.
And moving energy through the lower part of your body is bringing forth the energy that is, I deserve the life I want. I'm standing on my own legs and my own power. Okay, universe, get with it. And it's better for your health. It's better for your energy, the whole 9 yards. So there's a whole way that she approaches that I decided when I kept hearing people talk about manifesting and affirmations, and I'm looking at them and they're written wrong. There's certain things I'm very old school about. It's like, really? You're doing an affirmation? You're saying, well, someday, maybe that might, whatever. And it's not happening and you're surprised. Okay. So I started working with this process with Valerie's work and working energy down into my body, along with realizing in our culture, we always talk about, let's raise our frequency, our vibration.
Yeah.
Let's raise it. That's great. But if you just go up, you have nothing to stand on, literally and energetically. So it's like you want your energy to raise in.
It's like it's manipulated, like a fast, great rock song that then passes, or some version thereof. That's the metaphor I've used for some conversations of that nature.
And it just, there's certain things as I've been doing this work that I feel like I reach way back in time, to somebody who wrote something in 1980 or maybe 1880, because there's amazing work from there. And I love the science and all the newness. I sort of step back into this going, whoa, they've actually proved what I do. That's cool. Thank you. And so,
just on that note, there's an organization we're going to do some work with, and to me, it's funny because I have a dear friend of mine, Angela, who's been on. It's like the science of affirmations and visualizations, and it's called Positive Prime. But what's interesting about Positive Prime is that they have spent a fortune on proving what we all already know. And I'm kind of like for 35 years, I know, like, I don't really need a scientific research study for that, but they have. Anyways, it is funny because there is data that is strong and not anecdotal, that is coming, that just, I don't know about you, for you and I, but it's kind of like, told you so, surprise, like, who'd have thunk? Anyway.
And, well, I mean, and Valerie sort of was that for me, in that she did all this. It was through her work that I learned how to work with scalar wave, which
I don't know what that is.
Scalar wave. They talk about it in physics, but they don't know what to do with it because it doesn't have a frequency.
Okay.
But it's not your normal frequency wave thing. But Tesla talked about it, and for Valerie, it came and connected when she started studying psychic surgery, which I've had. And it was kind of like, that's crazy weird. There's like blood on my stomach, but everything moved. Yeah. It changed my belly button. It was very cute. The thing is that there's so much out there, and we're discovering more. And what's amazing about it is letting more people go, yeah, let me find out about that.
Yeah.
Who 30 years ago might have gone, you're just crazy. So scalar wave is an amazing healing wave. I broke my ankle at Disney. Disney had Mickey Mouse doctor, didn't set my leg. 2 months later, I went to my own doctor, and he went, well, other than the fact that your ankle is not put back together, it's all calcified over each end, and all the muscles and everything else are still stretched. Other than that, we're going to put you in a cast and hopefully not have to put a spike in your ankle. And I did scalar waves for 3 weeks and got rid of the calcification, reconnected the bone, and brought everything back into place.
Wow.
So I teach it so people can do healthy things. But the work, that's not really part of manifesting, except manifesting health and bones coming back together. I love the science of it, but I don't want to go get a degree in physics.
No.
And I'm grateful I don't have to. So in Crazy Simple Secret, what I do is explain how you can do this work within your body. You can move energy in a different way and take that intention, because that's part of it. And as you're standing in your own power, literally, energetically, physically, you use that as the basis for what you want to manifest. And so you are, I mean, because I've looked at how a lot of people teach manifesting, and I get it. It's sort of the same basic thing. And I know that, you know, the percentages for actually getting something you want manifested are not so great. And I thought, well, this works for me. I got my house. I got other things. I can do it for other people. I'm not saying it's perfect for me or anyone, but I think it's an important piece to get into place.
Yes.
And so that's what my crazy simple secret to manifesting anything you want is about. And I put it together on a video training that's less than 30 minutes.
Awesome.
So I explain it, and then I take you into a process of actually doing it.
And I do think that this is a little bit like a muscle, you know, in terms of if you're training your physical body, if you were training your heart, if you were training your mind, if you were training any of those pieces, this is the same. And I think that is one of the pieces that's important, is that we can't deal with it in the theoretical, we deal in the practical and with practice. So I know you have a gift or a way for people to reach out to you and connect with you and all those sorts of things. What is the best way for people to engage with you, Charel?
I think the best way right now is through the JVology giveaway.
Okay, awesome.
Because I'm putting that video in there.
Oh, awesome. I didn't realize that was your gift. That's
if
so good.
you come in and ask for my video, if you select that, then I will have access to you, and I will send you more information, because I do various things, and most of them are really fun. Actually, all of them are fun, because I am one of the things that came with my shamanic training is understanding the power of Heyoka, which is the sacred clown. And in many of the pueblos or the reservations, and I'm sure it's very similar through indigenous tribes worldwide, if you're going to do a deep teaching, the first thing you do is make them laugh. Because then they're open. So we do a lot of that in my work. I
love that.
If people can laugh and then also open, and it's very fun. I'm currently in the middle of a 7-week program I do called Radical Freedom. And I've done this a couple of times now, and I know I need to do the next level of this program. And for about 2 weeks, every time I was in the class and I started to say radical freedom, I said random freedom. So I'm guessing that's the next step. It kind of makes sense.
I always tease my wife. It's like I have a random access memory. I remember everything. It's just at random times.
You know, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. So
just on a sidebar, did you ever come across, oh goodness, his name, he wrote Radical Forgiveness, and was quite active in the Science of Mind churches and communities and those pieces years ago. Radical Forgiveness by, see, my random access memories at work right now. It'll come to me right when we're done, Charel.
I don't know. The title, though, makes sense. I mean,
And truly, I don't think radical freedom is probably very likely without radical forgiveness in terms of the binds and the ties and all of the pieces that are associated with it.
Yeah. No, we do a lot of I very much weave things together. In Radical Freedom, actually last year in my winter solstice, I started using runes, which I really like as an oracle. And I have a story. I haven't told you this story. April in JVology Live, March, April time, as you were starting to talk about the new major program, the new name.
Flow. Yep.
I pulled this rune out of the bag right before you started talking. where's my hand? This is the room for flow.
Seriously.
Seriously. I was sitting there looking and you went, and the name is Flow. And I was like, Jay, look.
That is perfect.
Yeah. And yeah, so.
Just on a serious note about that titling, just going back to that instinct and faith and trust and all the rest of it. When we launched our premium program, we call it Joint Venture Mastery. And it was kind of like the title of my book. It was the title that I disliked the least. Okay, like that, like out of all of the things we came up with. And I truly had faith that the right name would reveal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times I was like, what about this? And it's like, oh, it's close, but that's not right. And when I was preparing for that event, and it was just like 2 nights before the actual event, when I'm preparing for the event and I'm working on the elements, and it's like, the whole purpose of this is flow, is to get, and it's like, oh, for crying out loud, for 3.5 years. It's like this, and it was just like, and any marketer will tell you, it's like, look, you don't change the name unless you got all the documentation. And it was so strong for me that even though every single piece of written paper was still Joint Venture Mastery, it was like, I have to talk about it as Flow because, it's been 3.5 years of waiting for the name and I'm not waiting another day. So it wasn't the right marketing thing, but I couldn't refer to it as the old name anymore. It just didn't feel right. Like it was that instinct or intuition of this is what we had been waiting for, building towards, getting clear about for years. And I'm not pausing it for a damn second.
Yeah, no, radical freedom in the first round, because I kept throwing out new titles or the tagline or the blah, and I just went, okay, fine. It starts now. So I need to call it something. So it was Quantum Leap, which works because I play in the quantum, and there's actually a process called Quantum Leap, which is kind of fun. But at the end of the 7 weeks, I did an extra session, and part of it was I wanted input from the people who were in it to what the new title was. Mm-hmm. So Radical Freedom came there. And
I like it.
I do. It's like, yeah, that kind of place for me. And so when Random Freedom showed up, it was like, okay, fine. We'll probably go there. So yeah, it's just kind of amazing. And I ended up with that happening this last week. DEF CON last year it was completely virtual. Mm-hmm. 22,000 people in Discord. It was cute. So we did hybrid. So we had 8,500 in Las Vegas and 20,000 in Discord. And this is the 29th year. And we've lost people all through the years, but in the last. And the decision was to have a memorial in the con.
Yep.
And that's what I went and did. And
beautiful.
So I spent last week just kind of holding space and moving energy.
I like the honoring of that.
Yeah.
All right, my dear, we have gone a little over our time, but I've truly enjoyed the conversation. And I want to just encourage people that if you're interested in finding out more about the crazy simple secret to manifesting anything you want, what you do is you go over to the link in the chat. It is the JVology giveaway. That's going to get you free access to Charel's training. And just to be clear about this, about 70 other amazing gifts, tools, resources, access to people, including everything from consulting to recorded programs. It's exceptionally good. So make sure you scoot over there, find Charel's gift, and make sure that you get any other gifts that resonate and can serve and support you. And we shall see you all soon. So, Miss Charel, you have the last word. What would you like to leave the folks who are thinking about manifesting and are in the midst of the creation of big things in their life? What would you like to leave them with in terms of their parting thought?
Anything is possible once you trust yourself and you trust the unknown.
I love that.
And this giveaway is amazing. I've had a chance to look at things. I know I'm going way longer. Go find the things you want, and then think about somebody that you know could use them and invite them.
I love that idea.
That's how you manifest.
Yes, it is. Because it's a cycle, right? In terms of the giving and the receiving. And in the absence of that, nothing happens.
Yeah. Parking places. If you need a parking place, you want to manifest 2. One for you and one for the person behind you who's honking.
I love that. but that metaphor applies in much broader ways. That's beautiful. All right, my dear, I appreciate you being here. Gang, join the giveaway. If you're interested in joint ventures, go check out JVology Live, and we will see you all soon, and have a fantastic rest of your summer. Bye-bye. Thanks, Charel.
Thank you.